Hi everyone. So this is me back in the darkroom. I have all the lights on in here because I want to show you the steps of developing. So you should have a worksheet that has a chart that you're going to fill in as we go through this so that you always have the developing steps with you through this process. Now, like I mentioned before, these lights will all be off. It'll be a lot more like this in here. But for this demonstration, I'm going to turn the lights on and we're just going to pretend so that you get an idea of where everything is before we have to turn the lights off and you have to do it yourself. This is the developing process for paper, which is different than the developing process for film. For paper, you will normally come straight from an enlarger, unless you're doing pinhole photography. But either way, what you're going to end up with is what will look like a blank white sheet of photo paper. Now on that photo paper, there is a shiny side, which isn't that shiny, but it's shinier than the other side, and then a really matte side, or dull side. The shiny side has emulsion on it. Emulsion is what actually forms the image on the picture. So when that emulsion is exposed to light, it's imprinting itself, that light is imprinting itself on the emulsion. And what's going to happen is that the parts that get more light are going to turn black, and the parts that get less are going to turn white. So, after you're done with your paper under the enlarger, you've exposed it, or you're taking your paper out of your pinhole camera and you've exposed it, you're going to come over here and start putting it through the chemicals. It will just look white. It'll look exactly the same as it did before you exposed it. Nothing will have changed yet. This first tray, so this is your tray number 1. It's all the way on the left. Remember, it's almost like you're reading a book. We're going from left to right. All the way on the left, this is your Dektol developer. That's D-E-K-T-O-L, Dektol developer. It is developer that I've mixed special for paper. We use a different kind of developer for film. Dektol developer, this is where the magic happens. You're going to put your image in there, and you have to leave it in there for at least 45 seconds, but no more than 2 minutes. I always say go the whole 2 minutes just to be safe. If your picture starts turning black, it's not going to get any darker after that 2 minutes unless you leave it in there for like an hour. But the full 2 minutes will really help keep that picture from being underdeveloped, which is a problem that people sometimes have because they're in too much of a hurry. You're going to go the whole 2 minutes. Now, how do we keep time in here? Because you're not supposed to be using your cell phone or your anything. Up here on our wall above our chemicals is a clock. Now what I say is when the first person that comes in, if you just turn it on to like 45 minutes or whatever, then the timer is always going. This clock glows in the dark, so it's really easy to see. But this way you always have a second hand and a minute hand that you can use to determine how long your paper is in each chemical. Okay, so you bring your photo paper over here, you put it in your developer first. The developer is the first tray on the left. When we put our photo paper into a chemical, it's really important that we're always agitating it. By that, what I mean is you just grab this edge right here with one finger, use 2 fingers if you want. The world is your oyster. And you're just going to gently, look how I'm just gently lifting it up. I'm doing this and the chemicals are kind of sloshing gently back and forth. Don't do it so hard that they splash up onto your shirt. The developer will wash out of your clothes, but it will get darker as the day goes on. The developer will show up, so you don't want to get developer on your clothing. So you're just going to very gently lift it up and down, agitating it the entire time it's in there. This is just to make sure that the chemicals are brushing over your paper evenly and removing that emulsion that we want. And this is where your picture reveals itself. So if your picture's facing up, shiny side up, you will see it start to appear as you're doing this process. And that's the fun part. After it's done in here for 2 minutes, you're going to use the tongs that say developer. It's important that you use the right tongs because the biggest problem with our chemicals is when they get mixed, okay? And it kind of sabotages the chemical. So these tongs that say developer on them, and you'll be able to read it because it's in black marker, you cannot let these tongs touch either other chemical. They can only touch the developer. So you're going to actually use the tongs to pick the paper up and hold it there. Let it drip down. You want to get as much of that developer off of there as you can until it's almost done dripping, and then you're going to gently drop it into the next chemical. The second chemical on your chart. Oh wait, let me rewind. So this first chemical, what it does is it knocks the emulsion off so the picture appears. This is how our picture shows up. The next chemical in your series is called stop bath. Okay, spelled just like it sounds, stop bath. What stop bath does is that it stops instantly the developing process. If we were to not use stop bath or to skip it, over time our picture will keep developing. You'll come back tomorrow and it'll be all black. It'll be like a blackish brown, but it'll be all black. All right, so we use stop bath, and we only use stop bath for 30 seconds. So we're just going to agitate, again, you just agitate it really gently, the full 30 seconds. Use your timer up here to make sure you're keeping track of your time. If you go over 30 seconds, it's totally fine. You cannot go less than 30 seconds. It might seem like it's fine, but if you come back in 2 days, it will change because you didn't wait for the full 30 seconds. Now there's another tongs here that say stop bath. These tongs can only touch the stop bath. So you use these to pick up your picture, and again, you let it all drip off as much as you can. It's really helpful if you actually kind of hold it at an angle so it all drips off at the corner. Comes off really nicely that way. So that is your tray number 2. Tray number 3 is called your fixer, F-I-X-E-R, fixer. Your fixer will go, it's the third tray. You'll put your photo in here, use the tongs from the stop bath, drop it in here, don't let them touch the fixer. And then again, you're going to agitate. You're just going to lift it up and down gently while it goes back and forth. Fixer is a non-negotiable 2 minutes. It has to be 2 minutes. Fixer, what it does is it fixes your image so that it can go out into regular light. When you're done with this step, you can actually take your picture out to the other room and look at it without ruining it. But it has to be in here 2 minutes. You can't skimp on fixer. That is really important. Now, what happens if it's in here for 5 minutes? Not a big deal. It does, for stop bath and fixer, if you go over your time, it's totally fine. You just cannot go under, okay? Again, you agitate the entire time. This is a long, tedious process, but this is how we do it. Art takes time, all right? So, what do you do when you're done with the fixer? We have special tongs that say fixer. You're gonna lift it out, let it drip as much as you can, and then you're going to put it in a water wash. This right here is the water wash. The water wash is a continuous stream of cold water that runs over the pictures. We actually have this water running continuously throughout the hour when we're in the darkroom because you need fresh water always going over your images. Your picture needs to be in running water for at least 5 minutes, okay? This, again, you can't go less, but you can go more. The big thing to know about the running water is that what it does is that it hardens your picture. It actually does 2 things. It hardens the emulsion on your picture so that it can't so easily be scratched, which is why we use cold water. If you use hot water on accident, like if you come in here and it's set to hot water, your emulsion will become very, very soft, and it will, like when we go to squeegee it, which I'll show you next, it will actually scratch the emulsion right off. We use cold water to harden the emulsion. But we also wash it for the full 5 minutes because we need to get rid of all those chemicals that it's been soaking in for the last 5 minutes. Again, this one you can do more than 5 minutes, but 5 minutes is the minimum. So, when you create a picture on here, if you're really eager to look at it in like daylight, you want to see what it looks like so that you can decide whether you need to redo it or make corrections or anything like that, it is totally okay to take your image out of the fixer when it's done with its 2 minutes. You can rinse it off gently in the sink and take it out to the other room. However, you have to make sure that you bring it back and put it back in the water for the full 5 minutes. All right? Cannot skimp on that. All right, once you are done with the water wash, you're going to squeegee off your piece. So this is where we squeegee. I always try to make sure that the squeegee is actually clean because it could scratch your image if it's not. You just place your wet piece, you take out of the water, place it right here on the plexiglass. Doesn't matter whether you put it upside down or photo side up. You just set it here, and then you're just going to hold it by the corner, and it'll kind of stick there because it'll be wet, and just squeegee it down. Try to avoid squeegeeing it more than once, just because then you risk scratching it if you over squeegee it. Also, to eliminate any confusion or memory loss, I do have a giant poster here in the darkroom about the chemicals and next to the clock that just gives you a reminder of the times for each chemical. So that is everything you need to know for developing paper in the darkroom. If you think of any questions, don't be afraid to email me before our next class period, because I want you to come in ready to develop and to have as much information as you need to work the enlargers and to start the process yourself. I will be here also on that day to answer any questions you have, but my hope is that you will come in ready to get started. All right, I can't wait to see you again. Talk to you soon.